The woman I spoke with says that LaToya Gwynn's death is something she never would have imagined, especially with her accused killer being her father. She said that she had no idea that either party had any issues. Chief Bausch says changes have been made to improve student safety, like this pedestrian controlled crosswalk to alert drivers of students before they reach them. In the past, families have allowed children to dig their hands in the bowl and have the kids take the candy out themselves. But now, with RSV spreading, doctors are asking that families have a designated person to bring the candy out of the bowl and put it into the child's bag in a specific way. Phoenix, I spoke with several people living at Champaign Park Apartments right behind me, and they say it's so cold that it feels like they're still outside when they're in their homes. I also spoke with the city, and they say that a judge has granted them the ability to put families in a temporary housing if the owners don't. Raja, right now I am at Billy Baroo's and the excitement is building. As you can see, a lot of people are out right now trying to get that seat so they can get right in front of a TV or just be in the vicinity of the game as the game time clock ticks down. When a person is arrested, they pay a bond to be released. But with those funds no longer available, one circuit clerk I spoke with says she's worried how court hearings will be paid for going forward. That's right, I spoke with one state attorney and he says it's unfair this justice system is based on money, given America has a history of discrimination towards minorities. I also spoke with one professor and he believes Black Americans risk their freedom in order to provide for their family, but end up in jail. I learned today that 13 of the 19 retail spaces are vacant here in the shopping center. I spoke with one resident and she tells me that most families living in the area are low income and they need these stores nearby to survive. I also spoke with businesses and they say that the empty spaces could be good help for the community.
Should not have been breaking in. And he said, well, maybe you need to get a gun.
Resident Nancy Winchester says that's the response she got when reaching out to police. She says after the owner of this house died a few years ago, people have been breaking inside to steal items left over.
Sir, I didn't know who was going in there, whether it was a drug-related thing, whether it was gangs. I didn't know who was, but I knew they didn't belong in there.
Winchester's grandson, Jacob Lane, says they requested for the city to board up the property so no intruders can enter, but no help came.
We've called Public Works on multiple occasions to ask them to board up the property. That's actually what the police told us to do, and we have yet to receive a response. As you can tell, nothing is boarded up.
I reached out to the Public Works Department to get answers for Winchester and her grandson. They declined to comment on camera, but Demolitions Manager Tracy Kraft provided this statement saying, quote, "This property has been written up by code enforcement and is now in the court's hands," unquote. Lane says properties like this exist throughout the city, and it's a hazard for more than just those living on this block. He says properties like these don't help the city's reputation.
As you took video footage of, there's power lines down. There's children in this neighborhood. What if those power lines are active? And just the fact that this is just a terrible way to showcase Danville.
LaToya Gwynn was only 34 years old when police say her life was taken by her father on the 400 block of East Beardsley.
All kinds of thoughts go in your mind, like what happened, especially when you know of a person to be non-violent or...
Keisha sang with Gwen in the choir at the Church of the Living God. Gwen can be seen on the left and Keisha on the right, both singing in their robes. And she recalls being in disbelief when she got the news. She says she's never heard of Gwen and her father having issues.
All kinds of thoughts go in your mind, like what happened, especially when you know of a person to be non-violent or...
I reached out to Champaign police who answered the domestic violence call. They responded saying, quote, "The Champaign Police Department approaches each call for service with a keen eye and professional demeanor. In the event of a reported act of domestic violence, appropriate action is taken." Keisha says hearing Gwen's voice was breathtaking.
She sang like an angel. She had one of the best voices.
If they do it, it'll make me feel good, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Robert Miller has been living in Garden Hills for over 25 years, and he isn't overly excited when he hears the city's plans to upgrade the neighborhood. He says the city has been failing to protect him and other neighbors, especially with last weekend's shooting.
The city don't care.
Through the Safety Lighting Energy Efficiency Program, the city will add lights and doorbell cameras at no cost to single-family and duplex homes, ranging from Bradley to Bloomington Road and Mattis to McKinley Avenue. Champaign's rehab technician Jonathan Davis says families will have to pay for the ability to record on those doorbell cameras.
You would need to apply for a subscription service, through the various Ring doorbells or video doorbell services. That's not something that the city's offering to pay for. But the great thing about it is that it's the homeowner owns it, so they can do that if they want to.
Miller says that's not enough, saying if the city's goal is to prevent crime, it shouldn't be on the residents to pay the bill.
I think it's kind of messed up. Personally, if they're going to provide it, they ought to pay for the service to record. I mean, they have them out on the streets. You run a stop sign, you record it.
Is there like some sort of like financial assistance program to help with that? Because it may be some people that say, I can't even pay for food.
Right.
But I want to prevent crime in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So how can you all help me?
I'm not aware of any financial assistance for that, but it's definitely something I can look into and see if something's available.
I spoke with both the Muhammad Seymour Education Association and the Board of Education, and they both have been bargaining since this spring before contracts expired at the end of June. The union says they will strike if it means doing what's best for the students, but the board says they can't do that just yet.
Yeah, I mean, when you come into this district to work, you're facing some pretty serious complications. But
Cam Zindars is the spokesperson for Muhammad Seymour Education Association, or MSEA. He says the issues include low pay, lack of planning time, increase of workload, and overcrowded classrooms, each having an effect on one another. Zindars knows about this all too well because he's a teacher himself, and he says his and other classrooms are packed.
Sometimes over 30 students. Right now I have anywhere from 20 to 28 students. We have art teachers that have nearly 40 students in their classrooms.
He says those numbers could get higher next year, with the 8th grade class seeing its largest count compared to past years. Zindars says this impacts students' education now and next year.
To give feedback to them on an individual level. And so every time you add more students to the classroom, your ability to meet all those students' needs goes down to some degree.
We reached out to the Board of Education about these complaints, and they declined an interview but provided a statement saying, quote, "There is a legal process to be followed before any strike could occur. The Board of Education remains hopeful that a contract will be ratified prior to a work stoppage occurring." As for parents like Carol Catron, who is a mother of 2 students in the district, she believes that teachers should get what they want.
If there's a child that struggles, they're not getting as much time with teachers because there's other children and more kids per class.
The investigation into Jelani Day's disappearance has unfolded over the past year. He was last seen on August 24th, 2021. His body was found in the Illinois River in Peru, Illinois on September 4th, 2021, and his body was identified nearly 3 weeks later on September 23rd. In the midst of that, his cell phone and 2010 Chrysler 300 were discovered as well. FBI Chicago is now overseeing the case, and his mother, Carmen Bolden Day, finds it suspicious authorities have no answers.
Apple can't help me. The cameras can't help me. Nobody is helping me. So, to me, that's unfair. We were treated unfairly.
Throughout the investigation, she says Peru PD officers spent too much time asking questions about who Jelani was rather than what happened to him.
They stereotyped my son. They stereotyped him by his car. They stereotyped him by the place that he lived. They didn't try to find him. They were trying to figure out what things they could find out about him instead of finding him.
Bolden visited Peru's police department last week. While there, she went live on Facebook showing his car and saying police didn't examine it as promised.
They didn't have the key. We had to shimmy his car because now the key doesn't work. The battery is dead for some reason, I don't know. But there's stuff all in Jelani's car. Nothing is tagged.
She finds it frustrating.
So somebody had to be going in and out of his car, right? There should be protocol is evidence tape should be on there each and every time, dated and initialed, right? Not so. Not in this case.
I brought these claims to Peru Police Department and they declined an interview, but provided this statement saying, quote, "Complex death investigations take time, and our task force is using techniques to bring this case to a resolution as soon as possible." Bolden says that's not good enough.
Reflection shows me that they do piss poor police work.